Ladies and gentlemen, Gits and Grats, welcome back to the channel. This is Red-Rupee, of course, calling the shots for you with some more Dawn of War 2 Elite Mod action. I know it's been a couple weeks, but I was busy launching a game on Steam Early Access. The game I've been working on is finally available. Check out Drop Zone. I'm going to do a little shameless self-promotion here. If you don't mind, it is a strategy title. And if you like Dawn of War, I'm pretty sure you'll like that game too. I know you 40k people are insular and you like your 40k, but it's a great game. Go check it out. But anyways, let's take a look at what we've got going on here. We got to keep this DoW2 hype train going. Ruthless at heart. On the red, we've got Turbine EL Cyris. He's getting more tags every time I put him on the channel. Over here, one of my favorite Dawn of War 2 buddies. Of course, that doesn't mean I'm rooting for him. But hey, Warp Spider Exarch as this side. Let's see, opening builds. Banshees coming in for Cyris. Extra Heretics and Chaos Space Marines coming in for Ruthless at heart. And I always want to say that I feel like Warp Spider Exarch has the advantage here a little bit on these kind of maps where he can teleport all over the place. They're nice and spread out. There's plenty of green cover for him to take advantage of, and he can take these victory points and get those decaps nice and easily up on those hills. But that said, the Plague Champion for the Chaos side is nothing to scoff at. He can bring a lot of AoE options to these squishy Eldar infantry if they're not microed correctly and positioned well. But right now, doing a great job of just holding strong against, right now, 3 different squads of Ruthless at Heart's troops. Right now, it's just one hero tying up all this madness. The Heretics can't even get in there. There's only actually 2 swinging right now on that Warp Spider. Bought tons of time. Meanwhile, the rest of Cyrus's troops been around the map, capping all over the place. Heretics now trying to figure out if they can move in on these Banshees. And the Banshees, at this point, can actually take the Heretics one-on-one pretty easily. Guardian Weapons team coming onto the field next as that first power purchase. Already 2 generators up for Cyris. Still just the 1 for Ruthless at heart, but he does have at least one of the neutral contested power spots. And right now, it looks like, Champion and his Space Marines moving in, pinching these Dire Avengers between them and that melee squad in the retreat path. An excellent positioning so far. Ruthless at heart looks like he's going to get the first squad wipe right there. Dire Avengers do go down. The Heretics in a lot of trouble themselves right now, though. Might be going down to those Banshees. One more swing does the job, and a little retaliation from Cyris, making sure that Ruthless knows he wasn't going to get that squad for free. Both players losing their initial squads from the match. Warp Spider out here getting the capture on this side of the map. Looks like he'll be able to do that. Great job from Cyris so far, just keeping that harassment and map haranguing going from that Warp Spider Exarch. Already early in the game. I mean, he spent so much time dealing with that Warp Spider, and then the Warp Spider just managed to stay on the field and do some damage over there. The Raptors, however, just popping out of that Chaos Shrine there and moving onto the field along with the second squad of Heretics, looking to maybe steal a generator or 2 out from under Cyris if he's not ready to react, although with everything still hanging out back at base, depending on the timing, he'll probably be able to just move in and shut that little attempted Gen Bash down. Not even a Gen Bash, just a little Gen Tap, just a test. Just testing the back lines. May as well steal a generator if you've got the opportunity to do so. A quick retreat right there. He probably could have just kept the squad, maybe kited around a little bit. Always scary when you're dealing with Banshees, though, so I can understand not wanting to do that. Quick route by these Chaos Raptors here, jumping on top of that Guardian Weapons team, singularly taking it off the field, at least for the moment. Banshees moving in on the Raptors. Raptors don't want to mess with that directly, at least not until those Chaos Space Marines can get a few shots out on these screaming War Banshees here. Easy route again in return from that. Let's see what's going on. It seems like both players are just going to stick with what they've got so far. We did see the Aspiring Champion, I think, get purchased here. Yes, we did. So these Heretics will be able to tangle with those Banshees a little better and definitely scare off the Warp Spider or those Guardians, Dire Avengers. It's funny how, despite playing Elite Mod for what, over 2 years now, I still call those guys Guardians even though they're Dire Avengers. Banshees, 3 of them falling while getting that capture, not necessarily worth it, I suppose, but I don't know. He's now getting that classic Warp Spider pressure, and even now upgrading with the heavy gauge Death Spinner, which can put a lot of, yeah, there we go, that Plague Champion now under control, because even with the Guardian Weapons team, the Plague Champion's Plague Bolter actually doesn't suffer from any sort of penalty from suppression, so he can stand in green cover and actually take out a Guardian's weapons team if he so chooses. So that heavy gauge Death Spinner does a good job keeping him under control. Of course, maybe he might get that Armor of Pestilence later, which would negate that potential ability, but even so, the Warp Spider still doing a good job, knocking things down. Still a 2-0 cap right now, finally going to a 1-0 cap, and sitting on about a 100-point advantage as far as victory points at this stage in the game. Everything hanging out in the center now as the Chaos Squads get positioned. Ruthless at heart did get himself a 4th squad in the form of those Chaos Havocs, so both sides sitting now with a setup team, and both sides having a pretty definitive answer. These Raptors a lot meaner than that Warp Spider, though, at least out of the gate. Probably a bit too aggressive with that Guardian Weapons team, knowing that the Raptors were out there on their own. Probably don't want to have that Guardian Weapons team out there unless maybe the Banshees are there to reinforce. Warp Spider doing a pretty decent job hacking away over here, but not really getting much out of it. The Dire Avengers were routed by the Raptors, and now again the Warp Spider finding himself on the wrong side of a few too many squads. That said, Cyris has done a pretty solid job of positioning that Warp Spider right in the middle of everything, so that even in melee right there, you saw only 2 of the Chaos Space Marines were actually taking him down, and it looks like that may have been just barely enough to keep him alive as he dodges out of there with a scant 8 hit points, just narrowly escaping death. Ruthless at heart taking control of the map here for good, and finally having, I guess, kind of a stable position in the center of the map. We can see another power node up here over here, which can get chopped down without much issue from those Chaos Heretics, but both players heading into Tier 2. Cyris slightly ahead, but doing a good job. He's ahead in both the tech race and the victory points, so that's exactly where you want to be. The only thing he's behind on is a bit of on-the-field presence right now. He's only 3 squads to 4, and with him losing those requisition points a little bit, as he is right now, and bleeding as he has been, that could be tricky going forward. Of course, he's going to have plenty of resource going into Tier 2, so he's not doing too bad, all things considered. But he's got plenty of time. He's got the setup in the way that since he's ahead in victory points, and he's doing good on the tech race, he can kind of take his time getting a Tier 2 squad back onto the field. Good job kiting away with those Banshees, even just forcing the outright retreat there. And now that the Chaos Havocs know where those Banshees are, yeah, you can see Ruthless at heart not hesitating to reposition that and get his troops in a way such that they can support this heavy weapons team.
Tell us our task.
Dark Reaper. Oh man, Dark Reaper's coming onto the field. That's a often underused squad coming from this Eldar army. So considering the composition here from Ruthless at heart, though, I don't blame him at all. It's almost all heavy armor here. The Raptors, the Chaos Space Marines, and of course the Havocs. All heavy armor, so those Dark Reapers are actually going to be some pretty serious DPS that Ruthless at heart is going to have to be careful of, and so long as we see that Warp Spider Exarch hopping in on that Havoc team, it shouldn't be much of an issue for him to pull apart here. Where are the Banshees? Banshees and Dire Avengers now moving in on the flank. The Chaos Havocs don't seem to have them spotted, though, and there's a bit of ambivalence here as to how they want to approach. It looks like they didn't want to move in on that for some reason or another, even though the Raptors are behind. Maybe they just wanted to try to pick a Raptor or 2 off here before they chose to engage, but the Raptors seem to get out of there all in one piece. Chaos Heretics now moving in on the flank again, and I feel like Cyris should have just moved in on this Havoc squad when he had the opportunity to do so. Right now, it looks like, yes, we have the Guardian Weapons team and the Dark Reapers coming in, and who knows? It could have been the right move here. Dire Avengers over here with some grenades, maybe able to pick off another model or 2 of these retreating squads, and those Banshees in retreat path as well, but it looks like instead of going for some potential model or squad kills here, Cyris is just going to settle for the guarantee of getting victory points under his control. The victory points did swing back around and even out pretty much neck and neck here. So now it looks like Cyris is just gonna take control of the map as the Warp Spider is prone to do. We do have a Chaos Dreadnought coming onto the field, so definitely going to need some anti-vehicle. The Banshees spot this after taking a face full of autocannon fire, losing a model and hitting the retreat button. A quick volley from that thing is enough to send any singular infantry squad on the retreat. And look at this mass of Chaos forces now just rolling out in force, ready to rip apart anything they encounter between the Raptors, the Chaos Space Marines, and the Dreadnought itself. Let's see, we do have a Bright Lance, a quick reaction coming in from Cyris, that anti-vehicle weapon, but the Raptors jumping in. There's no choice but to get the heck out of there. Look at that thing just losing massive chunks of HP with every swing of those Raptor claws. And everyone is just falling back. A full rout of the Eldar forces as Ruthless at Heart hits this hard advance with this now difficult to approach Walker. Cyris doesn't quite have an answer to. He's got the Bright Lance, but he doesn't really have an answer to the Raptors quite yet. He's been... That weapons team has pretty much consistently been out on its own, and considering Raptors are on the field, that hasn't been the best for Cyris. Cyris now getting some Wraithguard on the field, so hopefully between the Bright Lance and the Wraithguard, the Banshees will be hanging out, ready to engage those Raptors. Plague Champion is getting that Armor of Pestilence now. Gonna be making him a lot more difficult to take down. 383 to 291 as the Plague Champ, or I was going to say, is approaching that power farm, but decided against it, getting himself a Plague Grenade as well. Or Light Grenade. I just say Plague everything when I see Plague Marine. It's all Plague Touch and Plague Grenade and Plague Armor. It's just Plague stuff, you know. 381 as everything sits still. Touch of Nerd will come down here, and that's exactly what I was expecting. I knew that was going to happen at least once or twice in this battle to force those Banshees off. Unfortunately, there's way too much firepower, even with that Touch of Nurgle. It's taking a bit longer, but still way more than enough to annihilate those heretics.
As it was foreseen.
Quick little repair job, Plague Champion fixing up that Dreadnought, making sure it's fit for battle as it approaches over here. And the Bright Lance getting set up to try to make sure it can get some shots out on that approaching Dreadnought once they spot its location. Ruthless at Heart, I guess, having a difficult time figuring out where he wants to go. Got himself the Mark of Corn, which is interesting on those Chaos Space Marines. But I suppose with the Dreadnought and the Raptors, that's definitely enough to rout the only melee threat on the field. But it's going to be all about that positioning. If Ruthless at Heart can't get in on all of these ranged threats that Cyris has, they can still rip this army apart pretty easily. Havoc's got forced off by the Wraithguard, still losing lots of power on the back line. Cyris doing a good job of pushing forward, but left his power gens wide open. Light Grenade goes down on the Banshees, doing some pretty significant damage. Plague Fist is coming down, but I don't know if it's going to be in time. He might have to get out of there. Raptors moving in to help support with these Banshees. Plague Champion still taking tons of damage as the Dark Reapers start ripping into those Chaos Raptors. Plague Champion and Raptors do have to fall back under that twin threat of both, or twin threat, varied threat. They're not the same at all. Their range, that's about it. Horde Space Marines now moving in on the Wraithguard. This doesn't end well for these guys at all. Even getting knocked back there, they have to retreat. Everything getting pushed back once again. Too much in the way of melee threats right now for these guys to deal with. And the victory point still staying low. Oh my gosh, look at this Tamaris! Such audacious positioning from this Bright Lance. I'm not sure that's where it wants to be at all, though. Those Khorne Marines are moving in along with the Dreadnought. It hit the retreat button, but where's it gonna go but retreat right through those nasty Chaos Space Marines, taken out without just a swing of the axe there. And now a Wraithlord coming onto the field as well, deciding that he should counter that Walker with a Walker of his own. And more Chaos Heretics moving in to reinforce the squad that was lost. Everything's been kind of sitting idle for the time being right now. It's been a solid escalation so far. No real major squad wipes. Both sides losing a couple things here or there. The Guardian Weapons team went down. A couple squads of Heretics. But overall, this match is just continuing to intensify as we head into the later stages of the game. Let's see. Cyris did manage to save a single generator. And does have some reasonable power sitting in the bank, so he could head tier 3 if he wanted to sometime shortly. Wraithlord going for the Bright Lance as well, recognizing that that Chaos Dreadnought is the main threat on the board at the moment, and having lost that Bright Lance cannon, there was no other option. Realizing that Nurgle Worship doesn't actually heal up that Dreadnought, they cancel the religious aspect and decide just to go with science. They're gonna patch that thing up. 278 to 291. Everything's moving in. Lots of autocannon fire coming down though as those Wraithlords start trying to get some shots out on the Chaos Havocs. But still taking lots of damage. Lost their Warlock, got a little bit of a stun there, but everything advancing right now along with that Wraithlord, which is the newest threat spotted by Ruthless at Heart there, is enough to force him back off the map for the time being. Plague Champion now fully kitted out, does have the Plague Fist, so he's between that Plague Fist, the Pestilence Strike, and the Armor of Pestilence. He's just a nightmare to take down. He's very slow, and he's not intimidating in that he's going to be moving in quickly on your army, but he just can take so much focus fire and so much damage. It actually creates an interesting dynamic between these two heroes, because the Plague Champ is such a brute force blunt weapon here that he can just kind of roll around and cause trouble. I mean, he's just taking all kinds of fire right now, doesn't really care, and he can be extremely difficult to take off of points late game, but whereas the Warp Spider is just going to be teleporting around and hard to keep off the points simply because you won't be able to keep up with him. So interesting to see that right there.
I sense the spark of Eldar life being extinguished.
Plague Champion moving in on the Banshees, now getting flanked by just about everything. He's been kind of harassing everything back here. There's pretty much the entire Eldar army back here trying to shut him down, but it looks like he is going to get out of there. That's what I was saying, is that he can just take so much fire and just doesn't even seem to care. Chaos Raptors now up here getting the decap again. They did manage to take out that injured, very injured generator on the back line there, but Cyris has been doing a good job of minimizing his bleed, all things considered, so he's doing pretty well. And now, oh man, upgraded now with the Mark of Siege. This Walker, that Wraithlord with the Bright Lance isn't quite going to be enough to deal with that on the back line, and now the Chaos Havoc setting up those autocannons again to either eliminate those Dark Reapers, or I guess the Warp Spider was almost up out of luck just dealing with the Siege robot. I know it's not a robot, I just like calling them robots. Look at them, the way they stomp, just kicking everything over. What a dummy. Alright, 230 to 262. Wraithlord getting fixed up here. Getting a little mani-pedi there from those dire Avengers. Ruthless at Heart heading into Tier 3. And another Warlock getting summoned onto the field here by those Wraithguard. Wraithguard still pretty beat up. A nice volley going down there along with grenades. Everything finally just coming to a head there on those Wraithguard. Enough to send them packing on their own before they even got to get a shot off. We have now 3 just big, mean melee threats now. We have the Raptors, we have the Khorne Space Marines, and then we have the Plague Champ himself. All of these so difficult to take down if you don't have the right tools. The Dark Reapers, unfortunately, haven't really seen their time to shine, I feel like. They've never really gotten to wear anything down. Without any suppression out here, too, it's going to be very difficult to continue to keep these melee threats at bay. It's going to be all about positioning as Cyris figures out how to deal with... I mean, this is both a lot of bulk and a lot of potential damage output from Ruthless at Heart. It's kind of hitting a critical mass here for the Chaos Army. We can see even retreating, these Banshees are going to probably be losing a model or two. Let's see, the Plague Grenade goes off, doesn't quite hit anything.
Generator operational.
And Cyris heads into Tier 3 as well. 241 to 228. The victory points still neck and neck. Warp Spider doing what he does best. Just decapping all over the map. Keeping things nice and annoying for his opponent. Been doing a great job. I mean, he's going to get the decap on this requisition here. Ruthless at Heart at 167 requisition. After this pops down, he's going to be even lower than that. Down to 137 to 226. Almost generating 100 requisition less than his opponent Cyris at this stage in the game, between the upkeep and losing his requisition points on the back line there. Wraithlord getting a nice kill on that Chaos Raptor squad. Bright Lance trying to get into position, but not wanting to risk the Wraithlord against the Plague Champion and that autocannon. Where is that Warp Spider Exarch? Still on the back line. Plague Marine getting a good Pestilence strike there, stopping those Banshees in their track, at least for the time being, but the Chaos Heretics do get routed by the Wraith Guard, causing a full retreat after a volley from that Siege Marine, or sorry, from the Wraith Guard. The Siege bot chasing down the Wraithlord now. Only needs another volley or two of rockets to finish it off. Dark Reapers, I'm not sure what their plan is. But the Banshees managed to send off the Chaos Havocs, and now it's just the Plague Champ and the Dreadnought between the Warp Spider and the Banshees and their own outpost. This Dreadnought still continuing to be a constant threat. Warp Spider looked like he was going to go for maybe another decap, but it didn't work out for him too well. Let's see how many swings are going to go down. Is the Siege Dread going to be able to get a melee swing off? It looks not. The Warp Spider isn't going the position that would allow that. However, the Plague Champion could easily get a swing off if he's in the right spot. Instead, he's not quite moving in to engage. Let's see, he's not going for it. He's instead going to push on the Wraith Guard. 226 to 228 right now, and it's still anyone's game. Both players have been hanging on to their squads pretty well. Cyris and Ruthless both in tier 3 now with some pretty reasonable resources. Cyris hurting a bit on the power, but approaching the point that he could start getting something big and mean on here. Either a Seer Council, potentially a Fire Prism, or something along those lines. Ruthless at heart has, or I guess I thought he had enough for a Predator, but that might be what he's holding on for. Chaos Terminator is also an option. He does have enough red that he could do that. But 176 to 228, and I think this is the first time Cyris has really been on the back foot as far as victory points are controlled. Siege Robot throwing down the rockets there. I know, I just like saying it because it makes people mad. Predator coming onto the field. Chaos Havoc's doing some hurt over there. And the Eldar just seem not quite sure how they want to approach this particular puzzle. It's not an untenable position for either side, but all it takes is one bad engagement at this stage in the game and lose a couple squads, and suddenly it's even more difficult to approach the other army. As it stands right now, Ruthless's heart has things locked down, so the onus is on Cyris to figure out how he wants to get in here and how he wants to try to pull this army apart. He's got the Raptors away from the squad right now. This could be a time to try to move in on the front lines while he has them distracted and running around on the back, chasing around that Warp Spider. Chaos Space Marines with the Mark of Khorne way out of position. I think if these get routed and the Raptors aren't on the field to support the army, this might be the perfect time for him to move in. Banshee's moving in on the far side. Noxious Cloud does get moved on the back, but everything's moving forward in a way that it's not going to take too much damage. Havoc's getting set up to fire off that autocannon. Grenades go down. Banshees trying to get in position and do manage to knock back the Havoc's just as the Chaos Dreadnought gets a nice shot down there, and it looks like suddenly that Dreadnought's out of position and getting ripped apart by that Wraithlord. Walker goes down. Looks like the Dreadnought's not long to live either. That Chaos Predator manages to get out there, but it looks like the Fire Prism is on the field for our opponent. What are those Banshees doing? Going a little too deep, managing to only lose 3 or so models. That's not so bad. But as it stands right now, it looks like Walkers are the old and tanks are the new. Those Walkers both got sacrificed in that engagements, but now both sides sitting with tanks on the field. Raptors getting knocked back. And even a grenade there from the Dire Avengers to dissuade them from pursuing any further. And now we're seeing, oh, the Mark of Nurgle, which I don't often see on a Predator. Perhaps he might regret that once he sees the Fire Prism. But that makes that tank even nastier as far as survivability and makes it a tough attack for any of these infantry squads out here. Mark of Khorne Marines moving in once again. Nice knockback by the Fire Prism, unfortunately just a bit too late. And these Wraith Lord actually look like they're in a lot of trouble. One more swing doesn't manage to take out the last one. They will be heading home with just a single Wraith Lord and the Warlock over there. Warp Spider Exarch with the enhanced warp generator right now, so making it able to teleport even quicker. That may have been why we've been seeing him jump around on the back lines so much. I didn't notice that upgrade until just now, but I think he had it during that last series of engagements. 76 to 228. Cyris in a bit of a tough spot right now. Neither player in a decisive winning position at this point, but that means that the person with the least victory points is in a tough situation, especially being under 100 points. Cyris needs to get something done here so he can hold this victory point in the center for more than just the few seconds he's been managing to these last few battles.
We trust in your guidance.
I think he has the tools he needs,
We must save the trust.
but the Banshees are moving into a flanking position. And I suppose this Nurgle Predator is going to be a real difficult problem to deal with as well. Still on the, he still has the focus beam, so he's intending on hitting that Predator with the Fire Prism as opposed to the other squads.
No hour here is safe enough for
I feel like Warp Spiders, a squad of Warp Spiders would probably be really excellent here, both in disabling the Predator and then kiting around the melee squads like the Raptors and that sort of thing. Wraithguard moving in, trying to do something here, but there's way too much out here. Without support, they're going to get pushed off very easily. Where are the Banshees? The Banshees still in a flanking position over there, capping the power instead of helping support over here. The Predator does go down, which is a huge win right now for Cyris, who's sitting on lots of resources. He needs to get something else out here. What are those Banshees doing? Dodging those Corn Marines. Still not able to take the center of the map quite yet. The Flag Champion just charging on forward in the face of all this firepower. Getting suppressed, but not even worried with it. Taking the full hit of a grenade, and oh my gosh, look at this! The often non-seen melt-a-gun Raptors take out the tanks. Now both walkers, both tanks off the field. And without that Fire Prism, it's going to be a much harder approach over here. Banshees now running around, trying to get these Chaos Heretics off the field. Corn Marines still in hot pursuit, with the Havocs still watching that central victory point. 76 to 228 still. It's just been at a standstill for a lot of this game now. This game is definitely going long. And the Howling Banshees trying to find themselves something to take out, maybe an easy pick or something along those lines, but the way they actually maneuvered around the map for so long actually worked to the advantage of Ruthless Heart and gave himself time to compose his army back here in the center, and ultimately was able to protect those Chaos Havocs from what otherwise would have been certain doom. Seer Council coming out here now for Cyris. And I guess Cyris is now just going to try to contest the melee game now with those bad boys. Now seeing that the Raptors went for the Melt-A-Guns. The problem with them now is that they did just obliterate that Fire Prism in the blink of an eye, but I think they're going to find themselves much less useful against the infantry threat that Cyris has on the field so far. Those level 3 Banshees and now the Seer Council coming out behind that. Even Plague Marines, suddenly you can see Ruthless's Heart is just really well equipped to deal with vehicles that don't exist. That being said, there's still only 60 points on the board right now for Cyris, and Ruthless only needs to hold on a bit longer to get this game going. A little harassment there on the Havoc from Cyris, who's finally able to fully push back the Chaos Forces from the center of the map, and now teleporting all over the place as we would expect to get the decaps on those victory points and hopefully close that victory point gap. He's just under a 200-point deficit right now. Another Chaos Predator coming onto the field, and Chaos Corn Marines now moving in on that gen farm. They're going to find themselves on the wrong end of some Warlocks here. A bunch of Seer Councils along with Banshees on top of that, ripping through that squad. They are level 3 though, so they're very hard. He only managed to take down a single model, but still sending them back quite injured. It'll be a while until they get back onto the field. Predator coming back out here though, and Cyris does not have a good answer for that. He does have the Wraithguard, which have been proving pretty strong so far. I'm actually kind of surprised we saw that Nurgle Predator go down, but I guess that was with the support of a long-range weapon like that Fire Prism. We do have another Guardian Weapons team coming out here, but there's lots of Eldar moving in, and that Chaos Predator wants nothing to do with it. Although upon spotting the rest of the Chaos forces, the Eldar decide to fall back as well. That Seer Council actually took a whole lot of fire, sitting at about half HP at this point. Wraithguard without the Warlocks, very slow. Got to get that Seer Council nice and close so they can get that speed boost, since they don't have a Warlock of their own for the time being. What is the Chaos Predator getting upgraded with this time? Around the Mark of Khorne, going a little more aggressive than last time, going with the Nurgle Predator. This time, getting that Mark of Khorne, recognizing that it will have to maneuver a bit more than that last Nurgle Predator. That Nurgle upgrade makes it very tanky, but does slow it down, which probably was ultimately its downfall. So I like that he changed it up here, just going straight for the damage. And I think that's what he needs right now. He's got so much beef and bulk on the map that I think he just needs something else to put out the DPS, and that Khorne Predator is going to be exactly what he needs to do so. A nice heal going down with the Mucus Discharge there, that old Plague Fart going, and keeping everyone nice and healthy. However, here comes the Eldritch Storm. I don't think it's going to quite hit anything, though. Unfortunately, wow, completely misses everything, and the the Warp Spider Exarch goes down as well. Oh! And then Nurgle Abyss opening up. Was that 2 squads that just went down? I think... What did we miss? Okay, that was a Guardian Weapons team, I think, and that squad of Dark Reapers finally went down. The Chaos Predator in a bit of a tight situation. Seer Council trying to do something against it. Will they manage to take it down if this Predator survives? Okay, I was going to say if the Predator survives, it's all done for. But even so, the Banshees just went down to the Melted Guns and that Chaos Havoc. Almost level 4 now, 88 to 49. And I don't know if Cyris can get back into this. That was 3 squads that just went down in the blink of an eye. Perfect timing with that Nurgle Abyss. Right in that retreat path, right on top of a setup squad that was right there. It was, took out 2 squads on its own, plus the Banshees getting obliterated right there. Plague Champion didn't even care about that grenade, just took it in stride. Wasn't overly concerned with it. Chaos Space Marines moving in now, and with a 2-0 cap, I don't see any way, unfortunately, for Cyris to bring this one back around. It was neck and neck up until that last engagement, but that was a decisive victory for Ruthless at heart, and I think the game is going to him. 22 points and a triple cap. There's just no time left. Plague Champion just diving into the Eldar forces here, not concerned at all with the Dire Avengers, the Warp Spider, or the Seer Council. That is a nasty hero, level 7.
Somewhere we went astray.
What a finale. That was rough for both sides. Everyone losing their vehicles, even a couple squads going down, but Ruthless at heart just able to keep everything up and running throughout all of that. Cyris, I feel like, just never had a solid engagement where he actually got to utilize all of his squads at once. He kept having to either, in the early game, he was retreating his Guardian Weapons team, which kept getting caught out of position. In the late game, his Banshees weren't quite there to be the support they needed to be during some of the larger engagements, and both players just using their vehicles well, but ultimately losing them side by side more than once. I loved seeing a few things we don't often see, though. We saw those Dark Reapers come in. We got the Seer Council here. We see the Melta Raptors. I can't remember the last time I saw these Melta Raptors. And, man, they look so cool, though. Look at those nasty weapons. Oh, what a good game. 83-0, the final score. Cyris almost brought it back around. But anyways, that's it for me right now. I'll probably be doing some streaming later tonight if this goes up on Tuesday. I do stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I try to get my episodes up on Mondays and Wednesdays, but as I mentioned before, I was extremely busy these past couple weeks. I did some casting for my game. We casted our first ESL tournament. We also had a launch day stream on top of that when we released our game on Steam Early Access. So anyways, check out some Drop Zone, go play some more Dawn of War, send me your replays, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I love hearing from your folks. This is, of course, Red-Rupee. I'll catch you guys next time.